but man, I mean, they're looking bad. I mean, I can't see them making the playoffs unless they make like a trade for young legs, maybe Levine
Another
or maybe
Lakers trade. Greetings and salutations. Happy New Year and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with us today on this Wind Up Wednesday edition, Captain for Life, Will Cotton, who's trying to drag me back in. That's an inside joke. Will, how you doing today, man?
I'm happy to see you guys. I've been texting you guys for the last 2 weeks. Crazy. So it's good to be back.
And our favorite administrator, who this week will continue to talk me off the ledge, Robert Abney. Looking good, Robert. How are you, sir?
I'm well. I agree with Will. Good to see you guys. Been a minute.
All right, so on today's show, segment one, we're going to talk all things NBA. Segment two, men's college basketball. And segment three, women's college basketball. And let's get started. NBA top 10. Fans all year, we tell you, we only care about winning. All this other stuff is just noise. So Boston's won, and Boston keeps winning. I think fellas are still undefeated at home. Minnesota's two. They're real, man, and they're still hanging around. And it's January now, so you got to pay attention to them. The Bucks are three. Somebody tell Dame that you got to actually like play defense, and all of your games are televised because sometimes you be laying those Portland eggs, and people like actually see it. 76ers are four, and they will probably drop because I think Embiid still hurt. OKC is five with those young legs. Denver is six, and they're not bad. Hey, Will, the Clippers are seven, and I think they figured this thing out. So let's see what happens with that. Sacramento is eight, Indiana's nine, and Miami is 10. We're going to do the 65 game club analysis of the East first. If the season ended today, Boston, Bucks, 76ers, Pacers, Heat, and Magic will be your top six. Cavs, Knicks, Nets, Bulls, Hawks, Raptors will be your play-in team, but two won't make it. And all year long, it's Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons are just bad. So, Will, starting with you, what are your thoughts on the NBA Eastern Conference this week?
I like it. I like it. I think that's pretty much where it sets, man. I think it's interesting to see like now as you're progressing as guys get older, you see the teams in the top five. So it was good to see the change, but got a lot of left of the season, so let's see if they can hold on.
All right, Robert, in the East, anything catch your eye this week?
No, I mean just this last week, and I mean we'll probably talk a little more about this, but there was a real interesting matchup between Milwaukee and San Antonio this past week. You had Giannis and Wemby going at it, and that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. And you're right. Dame's got to remember, hey, everybody sees your games in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, hey, Dave, we're watching, right? Okay. All right. In the West, top six. I'm still laughing at this because it is the reality. Minnesota, Oklahoma City, and Denver are the top three in the West right now. The Clippers, the Kings, and the Mavericks round out the top six. And here are the folks fighting for the play-in spot. New Orleans, Phoenix. How's CP3 get hurt again? Houston, Golden State, Draymond is back. I think almost. Well, he'll be back by the time this comes on. Lakers and Utah. Two teams won't make this if the season ended today. So, Will, back to you. Any thoughts on the West this week?
It's hard that the Lakers are as bad as they are. It's almost like
you knew they were going to be bad. So I don't understand the
I mean, we're not saying that they're bad, but they're like, man, like I thought when they won the tournament, the in-season tournament, that was a good spark for them. Those are good, like, catapult them to, at least until All-Star break. But man, I mean, they're looking bad. I mean, I can't see them making the playoffs unless they make like a trade for young legs, maybe Levine,
another Lakers trade.
I mean, that's what they're talking about him. They're talking about Dejounte Murray.
Firing the
I don't,
coach.
and-
They're talking about firing the coach already.
exactly, yeah. So I'm just like I think they miss the playoffs. I think Memphis gets in, just being younger, healthy than they are, and yeah, they'll be out. They're not looking good at all. They're looking terrible.
Yeah, because those
LeBron had
last
12 points
three.
the other day. He had 12 points last week. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
Yeah, those last three are Memphis, Portland, and the Spurs, and they might go up the rankings. Robert, what are you thinking about the West this week?
Yeah, the Lakers. I mean, how much did the energy they expended to win that play-in tournament? Does that mean anything?
They got a banner up.
Well, and
They
that's
already put the
LeBron,
banner
I guess.
Right.
That's something to LeBron, but I mean, right now, I mean, I forget. Remind me, if they won that tournament, that does not mean they're in the playoffs, correct?
That is correct. They won the tournament, just like the good old CKA holiday tournament. They got their little plaque, they got their little medal, and we had a nice time. That's what they got.
Okay, so they got a trophy.
Yes, and a nice. Actually, it wasn't that nice of a trophy, but okay. All right. So the NBA story of the week for us, Father Time is undefeated and untied. Will, we got CP3 injured. We got the Lakers struggling, and we got the Golden State Warriors holding on like LTD in 1977. Any thoughts about those three teams in particular playing aging guys and hoping to get through?
You know, it's funny. I'm getting close to that age. A lot of those guys are like, might be 2 or 3 years older than me, maybe like 40. I'm 37, and it's interesting because even myself, man, I used to wake up at like 5 a.m., do a bike, work, go to the gym. And now, man, it's just like, man, and I totally get it. You've done a lot of things, you've completed a lot of your goals for yourself. I mean, CP3, I mean, how much motivation do you need to wake up other than winning a championship? How much validation do you need in your life?
Well, maybe getting hurt now will get him through the playoffs because he usually gets hurt. I mean,
maybe. but all I'll say is, man, I totally understand the whole getting older kind of thing. So it's just crazy to be part of that timeline with them. And it's just interesting. And it's just like, there's a push coming. But whew, man, they're gonna have to hold on at least through a couple months.
Robert, try not to laugh at the 37-year-old talking about getting old. What do you think about Father Time and CP3, the Lakers, and Golden State? What are your thoughts, sir?
There's a saying I used to use when I still would go out and play City League ball, saying old age and treachery will always overcome youth and skill until it doesn't. We're getting to the point where it doesn't. I mean, they are hanging on, and I think the old heads are all kind of like, hey, we'll put it together. We got time. We got this, and it's getting late early.
It's getting late early.
It's like 10 p.m. on a Saturday, though. It's getting late.
Well, actually, fans, we're going to use that to transition. So in segment 2, we're going to update you on men's college basketball, the net rankings, and Coach Adams has been in gyms, and he's got a few things to say. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. Let's jump into college basketball net ranking. So 1, Houston. 2, Purdue. 3, BYU is number 3 in the net, folks. 4, Arizona. 5, Alabama. 6, Tennessee. 7, UConn. 8, Illinois. 9, Iowa State. And 10, Marquette. Just a quick 3 points for me. 1, Houston is a problem. 2, keep an eye on Utah State. They got a 26 net ranking. And 3, fellas, before I get your thoughts on this week's net rankings, I'm working with a fella, and he's a JMU alum, and very excited about JMU. JMU's doing great this year. They're 30 in the net. And I said that to him. I said, yeah, JMU's got a high net ranking. And he looked at me with that look, Robert, of, what is this net that you're talking about? I said, yeah. And then he actually asked me, well, where's Maryland's net ranking? I said, ooh, it's not very high. I said, but look it up on your phone so you can start having these regular conversations. And he said, Maryland's got a net ranking of 121. That's not very good, is it? I said, no, it's not. But now we have regular folks listening to the show, having conversations in their circle about the net rankings. So, Will, anything catch your eye in the men's game this week?
Nothing too much. St. John's beat Villanova, which was big. A little biased, as you can tell, but that's a big win from them. But everything else looks standard, man. It's always good to see. As a Big East fan, it's always good to see like UConn, Marquette in the top 10. It's always good to see because people kind of forget about us because we don't have football. So
yeah, well, that's a good quad 1 win, by the way, for St. John's. I believe that Villanova was a quad 1 win.
and it's really none of the blue bloods. I'll say UConn, okay, and they're making a resurgence, but everybody else is pretty much like new, and I like it that they're getting exposed not to the Dukes and the UNC and the Kansas and all these. So I like the way things are going on with the parity. And possibly NIL is doing that part of that.
Robert, what do you think about this week's net?
Few things. I watched Purdue and Illinois last night a little bit, and it was a wrestling match, basically thinly disguised as a basketball game. I mean, just Zach Edey just getting the snot beaten out of him and getting 4 fouls in the process. So that's going to be interesting to see, especially now in conference play. Teams are used to seeing each other, and games turn into slogs like that.
And that's where the Blue Bloods will finally rise up the net rankings because they're playing better.
I saw Arizona beat Colorado by 50 at home.
Ouch. Yeah,
Arizona is a thing. The Big 12 is definitely. That's going to be a battle. I'm going to be lucky enough. I'm going to go see TCU and Oklahoma State up in Stillwater here in a couple weeks. That'll be a lot of fun.
Jamie Dixon does a very good job.
And then last but not least, you talked about Utah State and the Mountain West. Every single game in the Mountain West right now, and it won't stay that way. Every single game in the Mountain West is either a quad 1 or a quad 2 win.
Wow.
Utah State beat Colorado State, who was number 13 in the rankings, not in the net, number 13 last night. So, I mean, that conference right now is playing really well. They're looking to have multiple teams in. San Diego State winning going to the national championship game last year.
Yeah.
A lot of good basketball.
All right. So the OCP College Men's Story of the Week. Basketball 101. Coach Adams got a chance to spend some time watching high school and college basketball, both on TV and in person. Shut up, Will. And here's some takeaways. Coaches, you're doing too much talking and not enough teaching. Good gracious almighty, as I'm watching, I'm seeing all these timeouts and talk. Guys just need to go out and execute, and that's what practice is for. If you're doing all this talking to the game, what are you doing in practice? Players, you're working on too many things that don't actually happen in a basketball game. So please watch basketball and kind of try to focus on those things. And here are the top 3 teams in the country, according to the AP. Kansas. They played through Hunter Dickinson against TCU. And again, TCU is well coached. They did a lot of high-low on a steady basis. Guards waited on the bigs. They got a close win. And folks, only 7 guys played significant minutes. So for all you high school guys playing 10, 11, 12 guys, you're doing too much, okay? Purdue, which Robert talked about, number 1 team in the country because they have a dominant big. I'm not worried about his NBA career. 10 guys on that team play significant minutes out of a 40-minute game. And I tell players all the time, for these 2 hours, I need you to do this. You've got 22 hours to be the other position you think you are. And finally, for me, Houston, number 3 team in the country, they have given up over 60 points 3 times this season and over 50 points 4 times this season. And 10 guys play significant minutes. So what's the takeaway of all of this? What does your team do best? My teams at Paint Branch, they played defense and they executed offensively. The teams that Will were on at Springbrook, high scoring efficiency. We're going to take you out to the deep waters because we can score at this clip and we don't think you can. And then at Hood College, I worked for Tom Dickman, high school, college, Maryland Hall of Famer. He ran flex till he was blue in the face, and we played multiple defenses based on our personnel. So, fellas, work on your free throws, finish around the rim, do drills, coaches, that align with what you are actually trying to do, and try to work on your offhand. Just some thoughts. So before we close, Will, any thoughts? Because you've been watching a lot of basketball too. Coach Adams just came out, and I'm sure you had some flashbacks. Any thoughts before we close this segment?
I think, like everybody always says, man, the skill is amazing. I mean, the kids are just, you know, I'm not sorry to be young men. The young men are just amazing. You know, they can really ball. They're just missing that gap of really a little bit basketball IQ. And that's, if they could close that gap, I mean, basketball would just catapult itself. It's crazy. But right now, because they're just so focused on themselves and the skill set, I can see why it's very stagnant for me to watch the games now. It's hard to watch because they get very boring for a moment. So, but, you know, I love what they do, man. I love what the kids are doing. So good job, and other parody.
All right. And Robert, close us out, sir. Again, the text messages go back and forth. Any thoughts about the Coach Adams rant?
Well, I mean, the better teams now, one good thing, one thing about all those teams that you talked about, they all know who they are and they all know what they're trying to do. They all know what they're trying to accomplish, and they all know how they're going to do it. And the other thing about conference play is those benches start getting shorter. You know, you're running 7, 8 guys out there. That's who's going to play. You're going to run 7, 8 people out there, and you want to be in those 8, know what you're trying to do, and guard people. That's it.
It's still going to come back to, can you get that stop when you need it? My last comment for this week with that, before we transition next segment to women's basketball, your bench has to provide energy. I'm looking at a guy every week that knew, hey, my minutes are going to be limited, but my role is a big deal. I got to keep guys up. I got to keep guys accountable. I've got to make these things happen for my spot. And I love it when I watch FAU and some of these secondary teams. Their benches are locked in. And meanwhile, on some of these big Power 5 schools with the NIL and everything, see you tomorrow's episode, they are worried about the wrong thing. So, yes, as Will said, that parity is real. And when we get back, We're going to see how the women's game is. A lot of chalk, so to speak. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete, academic, and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE Project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student-athletes. As student-athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE Project offers academic and athletic services to support student-athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we're going to jump right into the women's net rankings. And unlike the men, it's going to be names you've heard of. Number 1, South Carolina. 2, Stanford. 3, Texas. 4, Utah. 5, UConn. 6, UCLA. 7, Iowa. Did you see the buzzer beater, Robert? 8, Baylor. 9, Kansas State. And 10, Notre Dame. Women's game analysis. Again, unlike the men's game, these are the teams that are on extended winning streaks. NC State, Baylor, Iowa, Indiana, UCLA, South Carolina, LSU. They are all on double-digit win streaks. And folks, strictly for entertainment purposes only, keep an eye on the Davidson women and Fairfield. Will, any thoughts on this week in women's basketball?
Man, we saw a great, not recently, but whatchamacallit, USC and UCLA played each other like last week. They both were ranked. And you and my team that I wanted to do well, USC lost, so now they're 11-1. And so I'm wondering why they didn't get in your net ranking, but it's all
not
good.
my net rankings.
Oh yeah, you know, I'm just putting a name on it, you know. But other than that, they're balling, man. I'm enjoying it, and let's keep it going, man, and keep going. Juju Watkins, let's go! I'm telling you guys,
she's a player. Robert, any thoughts on this week in women's basketball?
Well, I see Texas number 3 in the net rankings. That's going to go down. They lost Rory Harmon tore her ACL in practice before they played Baylor, and I'll tell you what. They could not guard Baylor on the perimeter. Baylor got these 2 little guards that they got by people on the perimeter anytime they felt like it. So I think Baylor is probably the favorite in the Big 12 now. But Texas is still good, but that's going to hurt them a lot.
All right. So, story of the week: new ESPN deal for the women's game. So members of the women's basketball community say that the new 8-year deal with ESPN will pour in an estimated $65 million annually into the women's game. Now, many are looking at this one important piece, revenue sharing. NCAA President Charlie Baker indicated that institution of the NCAA is committed to adding revenue sharing for women's basketball, but for that to happen, the NCAA Division I Board of Directors has to put forth a proposal for that. Let's hear from the coaches, though. Dawn Staley from South Carolina said, we need this to happen. Administrators need to realize that we're a revenue-producing sport, and that's one of the things that is holding us back. North Carolina coach Courtney Banghard, who's the president of the Women's Basketball Coaching Association, she agrees with Coach Staley, saying, how do you tell athletic directors to continue to invest in women's basketball other than out of the goodness of their heart? Once this money comes in, we're just like everybody else in terms of, hey, we have a high value. Will talks to me a lot about value. So let's talk about the value of women's basketball. According to the 2021 Kaplan report, women's basketball merits somewhere between $81 million and $112 million on their own. But the NCAA president said the current market was different a few years ago, and it's very important to get what they would describe as the best deal for the most number of sports. So they're trying to lump in women's basketball as a package instead of keeping it separate. So moving forward, the deal that is signed with ESPN will ensure that the NCAA can cover the losses of women's March Madness from COVID. Other things that the deal will do is provide scholarship protections, post-grad insurance, and life skills. And also they're going to show Division II and Division III games on ESPN+. The new deal will run out at the same time as the men's deal. But don't forget, fans, the women's NCAA tournament is coming off a record year that saw nearly 10 million fans tune in for that championship game between Iowa and LSU. Will, you're my money guy. Pay attention to these things in terms of the outside world. What do you think about the new deal with ESPN?
It looks like they're definitely putting money into the women's game, but they're doing it cautiously. We're looking at numbers like $81 million and 121, and I think they were giving them like $65 million to help them or whatever. That's peanuts for them. That's peanuts. That's considering what they're talking about investing. But they're going to get there. I think as long as they continue, as they promote it the right way, as they package it the right way, because they could package cornhole if they wanted to. It's all about your branding. Who are you aiming to? And just be smart about it. And if you're going to put those things together and give it really time, that money is going to actually, the money's going to come in. It's just how you do it. Do different things. Don't do the traditional things, because now women's basketball, women's sports as a whole has changed entertainment in terms of how we look at things. So you can't look at your old mindset when you're talking about making new money a lot of times with these different kind of sports that we're dealing with. So it's good that they're starting here. I can understand their cautious, but I think it'll be a good down the line. I think it'll be great for everybody. So it'll continue, I think. So.
All right. Robert, as our administrator, what do you think? You had a chance to peek at the ESPN deal. What are your thoughts on the directions of women's basketball?
I didn't get a chance to look at that. Women's basketball is huge. It's growing. We saw the same kind of thing with volleyball, the volleyball national championship. There's more. If there's more money to be had, ESPN is going to find it, and they're going to take advantage of it. But we know that, right?
Absolutely. All right. So, fans, as we close, we're transitioning from college football to college basketball over the next few weeks. We're going to have a chance to dive in and discuss more teams and conferences as we shift a lot of our college basketball topics and conversations to our Thursday show as January and February merges in. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, and we'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.